Hey guys, I'm super excited. Today we have another interview of a Windowsill Nepenthes grower, and this time he is from far away. He is from Australia. So it's 15,000 kilometers, 9,320 miles away. So clearly everything is different there. When it's winter here in Canada, it's summer. When it's days, night, everything is totally different. Even the south-facing windows for him would be the north-facing window to have the maximum sun possible. So everything is totally different, like a mirror, and we will discover how he grows his Nepenthes. So coming up.
Hi, so my name's Mason. I'm from Melbourne in Australia. I've been growing Nepenthes and all carnivorous plants really for about 10 years now.
Oh.
So I'm 27 years old, so I've been growing them since I was a teenager.
Okay.
With different amounts of success. I can grow certain ones better than others. So I have a few native carnivorous plants like cephalotus as well that I grow. So that
Nice.
sort of helps that they actually grow near my sort of climate. So yeah.
Okay, and you grow Nepenthes on your windowsill?
That's correct. Yeah. So I have a sort of an atrium window. I can spin my camera around and I'll show you if you'd like.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. What is the exposition of this window?
Pardon?
What is facing this window?
So this is the east window. So the
Okay.
sun in the morning arises over that wall.
Okay.
And it's it kind of sticks out a bit. The window sticks out quite a bit. So I have a lot more light than just a normal window would.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
Nice.
suited perfect for this sort of environment. So yeah, I've got a lot of morning sun,
Okay.
but as you can see, at some point the sun does disappear.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that it suddenly goes dark, because this wall here is actually quite bright. You can sort of see the color is almost white, and so that means that I get a lot of reflective indirect sun in the afternoon.
Really great.
So yeah, it's really perfect. It gives a lot of diffused light without the heat. So
Okay.
the only direct sun that I get is maybe an hour or two just before lunch.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's what kind of climates do you have there? It's mainly sunny or cloudy or a
Yeah,
mix?
so at the moment you can see it's very cloudy.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in the middle of summer, it's very hot and dry. So summer can be up to 45 degrees in the peak, maybe around February. And night
Yes, that's
times,
because the summer is inverted compared to the North Hemisphere.
yeah, that's
Compared
right.
to it.
I'm quite far down, so
Yeah.
um, and I wouldn't say I'm not inland, so I'm not in a desert climate, but it's
Mhm.
definitely maybe Mediterranean, you would call it. I don't know,
Mhm.
but
Yes.
yeah, it's 45 outside would be the maximum for summer,
And you are
and
talking in Celsius, right?
correct, in Celsius. Yep, sorry.
Okay.
And nighttime temperatures maybe around 20 degrees for
That's
summer.
warm.
Yeah, so it doesn't drop anywhere near enough for highland Nepenthes. This is outside, of course, but with winter, maybe maximum daytime would be 20 to 25 degrees Celsius,
Mhm.
and nighttime in winter would be around 5 to 10 degrees, maybe
Oh,
5 degrees
okay.
lowest, which is getting much closer to what the highland Nepenthes need. So when it comes to it, I only really have to worry about my plants maybe 3 months out of the whole year, which is in summer.
Okay. Nice.
And the rest of the year is just that perfect sort of 15 to 20 degrees at night and 25 to 30 during the day. But otherwise, it's much easier to manage inside, of course.
Yeah, there is the bird. Sorry,
Yeah,
distracting.
that's one of my pet doves. It comes inside every day, and I feed it.
Okay. What kind
Yeah.
of humidity do you have?
So inside, I have a humidistat. Actually, I can show you. It's right here. So at the moment, inside, it's 45 degrees humidity
Okay.
and 20 degrees. So it's definitely not high. The humidity is far too low for someone who would be used to a greenhouse. But
Sure.
as you can see, it's fine for these quite easy to grow Nepenthes. I have plenty of pictures coming out.
Yeah.
So they manage pretty well in these conditions. I would say on average, though, inside the humidity is about 50%. So it fluctuates from around 40 to 50, maybe a little bit higher when it's raining. But yeah.
Okay. Can you show us the Nepenthes?
Yep.
Give us a
So
tour.
these are my sort of pretty common ones. I'll show you what I have, though, when it comes to the Highland ones. So I'm taking you outside now.
Okay.
I do have some Venus flytraps and
Yes.
sundews and cephalotus. So they
Perfect.
all
Yeah.
grow year round outside.
Oh, for sure.
But this is my tub. So at the moment, they all
Oh,
live
okay.
inside this little tub here. Let me get the Hamada out.
Nice. Did you saw the last interview I did?
I
With
did,
Ron?
yes.
Ah,
Yeah, I've been following him for a while, so I was excited to see that you did an interview with him finally.
yeah. And I was really happy. Oh, wow, that's beautiful plants.
Yeah, so this is the where's it from? Malaysia
Exotica?
Tropicals.
Oh, Malaysia. Okay.
So they did a tissue culture clone a few years back, and there's a seller in Australia that produces these.
But you have a great seller in Australia. Is that Exotica plant?
Correct,
PP?
yeah. So they do some
Did
amazing
you went
hybrids.
there to visit?
I haven't been there yet, but they're in Queensland, so
Yeah,
it's
I
about
guess.
a few hours on a plane, and I
Yeah.
can definitely
Oh,
go.
okay. Yes.
But yeah,
That's
so
a big country.
yes, it's far too far to drive, but
Yeah.
yeah, not too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got a few other plants in here that I'll show you. This
So
is
the box stay outside all the time, right?
no. So this is
No?
I've got them out here because the way that I sort of counteract the fact that I live in a pretty intermediate conditioned house is during the day it lives here.
Okay, inside.
So all
Okay.
day it lives right here.
With the
And
20 degree. Okay.
yeah, so it's just normal house conditions all day. And you would imagine it would sort of overheat in about half an hour from the direct sun.
Mhm.
But this chair stops the sun from getting any direct light on the box.
Okay.
So it lives just behind this chair here. And all of that is indirect sun, including the afternoon when it sort of rebounds off this white wall here.
Uh-huh.
And it's all diffused light with hardly any heat coming off it. So it's perfect indirect light. The Hamada
Yeah.
really doesn't need any light at all. So
Oh.
even to produce these really dark peristomes, it's basically never seen the light of day. If you think of it that way, it's never seen the sun. It never gets any direct light.
Okay. I will get an Amata this year, and yes, I will put it on a shadowy place.
Yeah.
Okay.
From what I've heard, it grows in a dark sort of clouded forest, so it really
Yes.
doesn't get that direct light that some of the others do.
Yeah.
So that's the Hamada. So he sort of stays quite shaded behind this chair. The other ones in here, I've got a Raja here. So he's finally showing some peltate leaves. So that's the Raja. And this is the Singalana.
Really
I
nice.
just repotted this, so its nicest picture unfortunately died, but yeah, I really like that one. It shows very mature looking pictures even at such a small size, so that's quite a good one. And then this one here is the Rob Cantley Hamada.
Wow.
So yeah, so these pretty much live here all day, and then for 9 months of the year at nighttime, I pick it up.
Yeah.
And I bring it outside and I place it right there. And so overnight, it gets the temperature drop to maybe 10 to 15 degrees,
Okay.
which is perfect for the Hamada.
Yeah.
And then when the sun comes out in the morning, if I sleep in and I forget that I've left it out, it never actually gets any sun anyway because of this table. And then when I wake up before work, I pick it up.
Yeah.
And I put it back there.
Okay.
So
that's
there's no maintenance. It's kind of tricky to try and figure out where the sun is going to be at all times, because sometimes with the axis of the Earth, it does start to creep around the chair a bit, but it's pretty easy to sort of keep an eye on it.
Okay. And that's the species that you put outside and bring inside every day.
That's right. So these
and
ones,
the other one stays inside all the time, right?
Yeah. So these ones here are intermediate species and hybrids, so they don't need any special conditions really.
What do you have there?
So this one is Rebecca Sopper. So here's a lower picture.
Okay, and it's vining, right? I've seen that.
Pardon?
Yes, it's vining, right?
It is, yes. So here's an upper picture on it, which is the first I've ever had. I've never had this one vine, so that's pretty special. And it catches plenty of bugs. There's a little centipede inside that. And it recently flowered as well, so it definitely flowers on a windowsill. There's no issues with it struggling. Next, I have a Miranda. So this is
Miranda?
Miranda, yes, that's right.
Okay, nice.
And this is a little basil that I cut off. So this huge wooden stump is the original plant.
Okay.
And I just cut the basil off and put it in the ground, and it kept growing. And all of these here are all cuttings of a Gothica.
Oh, Gothica, interesting.
So they're doing really well. They've all started to open up, and they haven't pictured just yet because I only took the cuttings about 6 months ago.
Okay. You have the mother plants, or you bought this cuttings?
So I do have a mother plant. It's actually in my proper greenhouse. I have a full-on greenhouse upstairs with vining plants and massive pitchers that are all my sort of main plants. But yeah, these are my windowsill plants here. So I knew that these ones would be okay on the windowsill. And this one here is a Veitchii platychila, platychilla. And this one is a truncata cross ventricosa. So it doesn't have any pitches now because I actually cut off the growth point and I wanted to stop it from sort of vining. I wanted to keep it quite squat on the ground. And you can see it started to activate some of the nodes.
Yeah, 2. Wow.
Yeah.
3 maybe.
Yeah, I think the third one may be there.
Wow.
So it's
impressive.
it's doing really well.
Oh yeah.
I wish I had some pictures to show you on this. They're as big as my hand or even bigger, but that's all right. And then finally, this one in here, I've kept it slightly more shaded inside this cabinet.
Okay.
This one is a globosa cross hamada.
Okay.
And you can see it's starting to form a picture.
Okay.
But yeah, so these are all
and it's more sensitive to light?
It is. I think it might be the parents. They're both not too fond of bright light, so they start to redden quite easily. So I've kept that one more shaded. But yeah, so that's the main collection here. For the middle of summer, when I don't even get the temperature drop outside though, for this tub, when I first started this idea, I actually put some ice packs in here and ice cubes, but I realized that it was just not really keeping the heat out. It would maybe after 3 or 4 hours sort of equilibrize again, and it just wasn't keeping that temperature drop overnight.
Hey guys, I interrupt you just a minute to ask you a favor. Could you please like this video and consider subscribing, hitting the little bell? That's the best way for you to see more and more interviews like that. So now let's see how he managed to cool the islands during the night.
So I invested in a cooler.
Wow. Okay.
And so instead of taking it inside and outside, I just take it from here and I put it in there.
Okay, a lot of commitment, a lot of maintenance.
It is, yes. Unfortunately, I can't just leave it where it is year round. But that's just, unfortunately, one of the constraints that I have growing it in a lounge room or windowsill environment. I haven't tried to see what would happen if I didn't give it the temperature drops in summer, because I've been too scared in case it gets ill. I've heard that if you don't give it the temperature drop consistently, it can be less immune to diseases and pests.
Okay.
So
maybe you will try with a basal shoot one day.
Yeah, I've repotted this on an angle, so I'm hoping that will stimulate it to form a basil.
Good catch.
Yeah, some people say that if you make it grow on the side, or if you make it drop downwards, it will make the plant think that it's growing the wrong way and it'll start a basil. So I'm hoping maybe that's true. I don't know. I
will try to tip some of my pots to try it.
Yeah, you would think with the way that Veitchii grow that would do it, but yeah. So that's the main plants that I grow in these conditions.
And you don't have a sphagnum on other pots, just this box, right?
Yeah, so these are live sphagnum moss as the soil. But just below the surface, it's just normal dead sphagnum moss, though. So the live is just for the surface.
Sure. 100% sphagnum. Dead sphagnum, I mean. No perlite, no bark, no...
Sorry, I do have a mix of perlite and orchid bark.
Okay.
So just to give you an idea, I got a sample here. So that's essentially the three components.
Okay.
So it's a little bit of orchid bark just to stop it breaking down so fast. I've heard that sphagnum moss just by itself can really start to break down quickly. So giving it a mix of some solid bark gives a bit more longevity to the soil. I'd probably say every 2 years I'll repot them. Being in this little tub, I don't have too much room. I do plan on getting a bigger tub quite soon.
That fits the cooler?
That's right. It can't be any bigger than the cooler that I have, but the cooler is quite large. So I feel like these plants will be okay until they start to vine, in which case I'll just cut them back, really.
Okay. Do you use any fertilizer or food or something?
Yeah, so with the tub system, you can imagine they don't really catch any food at all. I don't actually feed them anything. So I don't put any bugs in them. I don't give them any fertilizer spray or anything in the pitches or the soil. And I feel like they don't really seem to mind.
Yes.
I also have maybe done that to stop them growing too quickly, because otherwise my system will run out in maybe a year or two. So I've made sure that they don't grow too fast and too big too quickly. Nice. Otherwise, I might not be able to keep them here anymore. And I guess at the most, I would put a fly in the tub, and whichever pitcher it happens to fly into is the winner. So I think this one here has a fly in it, and that's pretty much the only one. And yeah, that's it. I don't put anything else in here to feed them.
Okay.
Yeah, I can talk about the fact that they are in quite a what would you call it? Not very airy. There's not much air circulation in here. You would think that there would be mold growing. So every morning and every night, all I do is open up the lid and I sort of give it a nice breeze, get some fresh air in there, and put the lid back on, and that's it. I don't have a little fan or anything. They don't seem to mind. I've had this going now for about 3 years in here, and I've not had any fungus or mold issues, nothing like that.
Cool.
Yeah, so the humidity, it does stay minimum 95% at all times, which is extremely high. And it's quite susceptible to fungus and mold. But as soon as there's a sign of that happening, I'd probably do something about it, but it hasn't happened yet. The only thing I try to do to stop that happening though is you can see on the sides here how there's water droplets just sitting there at all times.
Yeah.
So I've got this is basically how I water them, this mister.
What kind of water is it?
Distilled water. So I have these tubs here of distilled water that I buy.
Okay.
And I just fill up this and I give them a good mist. I never want to leave the crowns of the plant wet. So if there's any water sitting in the actual growth point, I'll make sure to dry them out before I put the lid back on. Except for the Hamada, you can see how reflexed the leaves are. They don't have any water sitting in the crown, which is perfect. But something like this Raja here, it's quite concave, so you can imagine how much water would just sit there if I didn't do something about it. But as I was saying, the walls, they stay quite wet, and there's no movement of air. So to stop any sort of mildew building up, I just make sure that I spray it, and it just moves the water down, and it just stops any water staying in the same place for too long. And I find that just, helps with everything moving in a big cycle. And then it gets to the ground and it just evaporates upwards or goes into the soil that I have on the floor.
Okay.
And the same with the lid. There's lots of water droplets that just sit there. So I just make sure that I sort of move the water around, and that's it.
Okay. Good idea.
Yeah. So I just always try and find a way to keep things moving. I find that really helps with any mold issues that might happen.
And you've been doing that for 3 years, right?
That's right. So this tub has grown over the 3 years. It was about maybe that big when I first started this idea. But back then I did only just have the Hamada. I've had the Hamada since it was probably about that big.
Nice.
And so, you can see it's definitely gotten bigger with the tub. And I'll probably get another tub soon, which is a lot taller, because I'm not sure if you can see there, but the Hamada lid is just about to hit the roof.
Okay.
So I'll need to make sure that there's enough room for the Hamada to keep growing. It's just about to hit the roof.
Okay. Well, that's a good collection. The Hamada is definitely beautiful. Raja, can you show me a picture? A picture of the Raja?
Sure. I'll just get the camera here.
Nice.
Not sure if it's in focus, but yeah, the picture, they don't last too long. So that one's already dying. Okay. That one there's already dying. I'm not sure if that's just because they're growing so many pitches so quickly. I've had this plant for about 6 months and it's already put on all of these pitches. These are all new. So it's definitely liking this environment.
Okay.
Just when it comes to the actual care of each of these, though, I find that as soon as this Hamada gets too much light, all the pitches will start to close their lids like this. The lids really drop down with the Hamada like that.
So that's the sign.
And as soon as the light levels drop back down to what it's used to, they spring back up again. So whether it's not just the light and it's also a mix of increased light equals increased heat, potentially that's what it is, but the other ones, they're all fine. None of them drop their lids. It's all just the Hamada, which is interesting. It does need quite high humidity though as well at all times. If this lid is off for too long, if there's no lid here, again, the lids will start to drop on the pitches, but it doesn't kill them. For example, this pitcher here is over a year old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just on that topic as well, I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a bit on the middle of the leaf there. There's a bit of damage. So that was from summer last year. So just come out of summer right now. But in the middle of summer last year, when this pitcher formed, I didn't give it enough of a temperature drop, and it actually got scale. So scale is a type of pest, and it started to attack this leaf here. I quickly got some neem oil. I'm not sure if you have neem oil where you are, but that stopped it immediately in its tracks. It only affected that one leaf. and that was it. So yeah, these pitches, they last forever.
That's impressive. I thought as they are supposed to be really thin, they
They
would
are,
not last long, but
yeah,
okay.
they're very papery. I'm not sure
Yeah,
how that's possible that they last for that long, being the complete opposite to like a
a
woody
trunk or a
lowy.
lowy eye. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
yeah, they last forever, which is another amazing trait. And also the
Okay.
leaf ratio to the pitcher size is amazing.
Yeah.
So this pitcher's double the leaf size. So
Wow.
yeah, it's quite an impressive plant. When it comes to this Rob Cantley Hamada, I'm not too sure what its requirements are with the temperature drop. Being a hybrid, it may grow in intermediate conditions better. I'm not too sure, but I have it in here anyway. So that seems to be doing fine. It's pretty good with all the other things like the amount of light. I can give it a lot of light. It doesn't seem to mind. The Raja is probably the strongest one I have in here. So the Raja is fine with 30-degree days. It's fine with really bright light. Doesn't give me any issues at all. And probably the most sensitive plant is this Singolana here.
Mm.
So I actually grew this Singolana in my proper greenhouse, which is just indoor conditions at all times. And the growth point nearly died on it. So I don't think it was very happy without the temperature drop at nighttime. And so I quickly took it out of there, put it in this tub, and now it's put on all these pictures for me. So
Nice.
yeah,
Good save.
yeah. So I think the temperature drop is quite important. There's a bit of debate how much it needs to drop at night.
Mhm.
As I said before, in summer, outdoors doesn't drop below 20, so therefore I need to put it in the cooler.
Mhm.
And
And the
in the
cooler, what
cooler,
temperature inside?
yeah. So during probably it's in the cooler for about maybe 8 hours. And during that time, it can drop to about 12 degrees,
Well,
depending on
okay.
how many ice packs I put in the cooler with it.
Okay.
So the more ice packs, the more it'll drop and for longer. So I have it, yeah, to about 12 degrees.
Okay. Nice.
And then during the middle of the night, it hits the 12 degrees and then it will start to slowly increase again, which is also what I find quite beneficial for them. It's not a sudden sort of drop in temperature over 20 minutes. It actually takes a few hours for the ice to cool them down slowly. So it's a natural sort of gradual decrease in temperature. I don't know if they would be too happy if it suddenly dropped 10 degrees in 20 minutes. I think that might give them a shock. So that's why,
Possibly.
yeah, that's why I like the cooler. But yeah,
Okay.
at nighttime during winter, I just put them outside, and they stay around the same, around 12 degrees, maybe a little bit lower during the middle of winter. But yeah, it's perfect at winter.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good collection that you have.
Yeah. So these are the only ones I have at the moment. I did have a Mollis or
Okay.
Horelliana. It used to live right in the middle there, but unfortunately it died. I went on holiday to Europe, and when I came back, my mother-in-law that was looking after them, she let the crown stay wet, and it got root rot, and the center of it
Oh.
just, yeah, just
Mm.
turned to mush pretty much.
Okay.
But that's all right.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's essentially all the sort of main points that I have on the collection.
Okay. So if you were to give an advice to somebody that want to try Nepenthes on a windowsill, what would
Yeah,
it be?
I think a good idea would be to start with these more common hybrids and species.
Mhm.
they don't really care about the humidity level once they're hardened off. I think humidity is probably slightly overrated. A lot of people think that they need 60 or 65 or above at all times, but I think the most important requirement is light. If they have enough light, that will allow them to form pitches. And then I think humidity would come in second in important.
Okay.
The humidity might allow them to get to their full potential, but if you have really high humidity and no light, they're not going to pitcher. Whereas if you have really bright indirect light but low humidity, they will pitcher. So if you're growing on a windowsill, probably aim for, depending on which side of the hemisphere you're on, north or south, respectively. Try and aim for that really bright indirect light on a windowsill is the most important thing. With humidity, though, if you do want to start venturing into the more difficult sort of species or hybrids like this one, you can always put a humidifier, just a cheap humidifier. You just plant it next to them and have it blow across, and that will give them that consistent humidity that they need throughout the day and overnight. You can also try the tray method as well. These are sitting in a tray of extremely shallow water, but some people sit them up on maybe like a stand or some rocks. And if you have a tray of water, that will slowly evaporate throughout the day and give them a little bit of a humidity boost. So there's a few different methods, but I think the most important thing is the light, really.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right. I'll switch my camera back around. Do you have any other questions or anything to go through?
No other question from me. Thank you very much for sharing how you grow your Nepenthes. I really like the cooler method with the ice cube, all that stuff. That's a quick way and cheap way to have this cooling method without going with the Peltier effect and island terrarium, all that.
That's right.
High-end stuff.
Or something.
Yes.
Where you are located, do you have to worry about it being too cold? Does it get below zero where you are?
You mean on the windowsill or outside?
Well, on the windowsill, does it ever really get to almost freezing, or does your heater allow that to
I heat the house during winter, during the day at 20 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
And I eat at night at 80 Celsius too.
Okay.
But it's really cold outside. During winter, it can easily go minus 20 outside. So below you can see the window and the cold that go down and then swing on the windowsill where the plants are. So the temperature there, it's 14 degree.
Yeah.
During winter. During summer, it will be 80 because again, I will run the AC to maintain this 80. That's about the temperature I like for sleeping. Because again, here, like in Manitoba, I'm really in the center of Canada and North America. I can go everywhere in the same amount of fly time. So it's the center of the continent, nothing to really help the weather to stay stable. So basically, if it's a north wind, it's gonna drop really, really low. And nothing like the ocean to help. It's not Mediterranean. It's really like this winter we had a record like minus 38, something crazy for a night,
Whoa.
but it was just crazy. And last summer it was plus 35. So it's
Gee,
the swing is
that's a huge swing.
so I'm not afraid of winter,
Yeah.
but during summer, yes, I have to cool to make sure the plants will be okay. And I have to shade. I started to shade during winter or summer because in winter it's really cold, but it's just pure blue sky and sun. So
Mm,
I
the
have my
blinders.
yeah, tentaculata. She gets sunburn in the middle of winter. So
Yeah, wow.
now I turn the shade because I don't want to risk anything. And as I plan to have Amara, there is no
Hmm.
way I burn it from the get-go and then
Definitely,
spending
yeah.
months and
It's
years to recover it. So I have to find the shade spot.
mhm.
And but yes, it can swing really easy temperature.
What about the humidity? Is the humidity very low there because it's sort of cold and
Outside,
dry, or
humidity, it can be quite low.
yeah.
That's why it's not the cold, humid weather.
Mm,
It's really a cold, dry, so it's easier to handle.
yeah.
It's barely raining. The most of the water I get is the melted snow or the spring rain, but after
Hmm.
that's gonna be quite dry. So
That's
that's
the one
the
thing that I wish that I had. I wish I had a more natural rainwater that I could collect, or at least snow that I could sort of
yeah.
melt down. Because the summer it would probably rain maybe once every month in
Whoa,
summer, and
that's
so
dry.
I have to just rely on buying distilled water. I can't really collect anything in summer.
Mhm.
Um, During autumn, it rains a lot. During winter, it rains a lot. But yeah, those hot, dry summers are just so hard. But that's again why I keep them in my little tub, and yeah, just try and manage. But yeah, there's always a way. You just have to get them used to it and keep it consistent. Keep the conditions consistent, and they start to adapt to it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the plan. I will try the same.
Yeah, well, good luck with your Hamada. They are a little bit fussy, but I find if you have them from a very young age, you can really start to sort of dial in. Like the grower last week, like he doesn't even have a tub; he just grows them in his lounge room.
Yeah, but it
And
started in a terrarium and then slightly, slowly
yeah,
open it. So that's and it said for nine. It did it the adaptation for a year, and
hmm.
it's been growing these same plants for almost a decade. So uh, he know the species by heart. It's
Yeah.
so he is a
And
pro
I was
of Amada.
interested when he also talked about the soil. He said that the soil was, I think, pure
Cocoa,
coconut husk.
yes.
Yeah, which is very interesting. I'd maybe like to try that with mine, switching up the soil.
I've seen that
But yeah,
some are rinsed like 3 time washed, so they clean the salt, I guess.
the salt.
But
Yeah.
definitely, yeah, um, that's interesting, and the fact that he have 100% this watering, I believe, 3 time a week,
Mm-hmm.
and heavily, you have a bucket and everything go through. So that's impressive. New idea versus
Mm.
not keeping. I don't know. I believe it dry really quickly, and he water it heavily just after. So that's interesting. I don't know how he managed to do that during vacation, but that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I don't actually water mine at all. The soil just stays so wet from the humidity being so high. So I don't actually ever water
Oh,
the soil. It's purely
oh,
just from misting the tub, and it just consistently stays damp. So
oh,
um,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
I think the soil dries out a lot from the airflow and the humidity being low. So the fact that it's in a steady environment in a tub. I don't ever need to water the soil, which is a bit scary to think about, but it never needs to. So,
Okay. Oh,
mm,
okay. Also interesting info. Thank you
yeah,
for sharing.
yeah. Well, thanks for having me on this channel. I've watched all the episodes so far, and
Oh, thank you.
yeah, it's really interesting to see how everyone sort of adapts these plants to their own environment instead of the other way around, and how possible it is just to grow them in your lounge room.
Yeah. And again, that your weather, Melbourne, I checked on internet just before the interview, is the same as Portugal. So
Yes.
so that's interesting because your setup could be reproduced in another country. So that's why I plan to interview everyone from every country if I can. You're clearly the farthest person I ever interviewed.
Really?
Yeah, it was all North America, but this time for me it's like almost 7 p.m. and
Oh,
you
wow.
it's clearly like noon maybe.
Yeah, well, it's actually just morning. The sun's just risen now, so it's right now it's about 10 o'clock or roughly 10 in the morning here. So
Okay, so yes, definitely you are the farthest interview I ever did.
yeah, well, that's really
If
interesting to
somebody
show
wants to
people.
challenge it, I will be happy.
Yeah, it's so funny to be able to talk to someone on the other side of the world so easily, isn't it? Just to be able
Yes,
to talk
yeah,
as if you were in the next room.
exactly. So thanks again for sharing and have a great day. And yes, if everyone have a question, they can leave it in the comments and maybe you will be able to reply to answer.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. I'm happy to do that. And I'll also send you some photos if you want some more high definition photos for the footage. Or
Yeah, it would be great.
I also have a time lapse video. It goes for about 5 seconds, and I did a sort of time lapse video of the Hamada growing over about 8 months.
Nice. Ah
So
oui.
each
Yeah.
second is about a month worth of growing, and so you can sort of see it growing each leaf over about 9 months or 8 months. So I'll send that to you as well. So
Great thing. Oh, okay. Well, thank you again and have a good day.
yes, you too. Have a good night. Thanks again.
Yes, good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. It was clearly totally different. Just setting up this interview was challenging because, again, when it was the evening for me, it was already the morning for him. He's a day earlier, in advance, sorry. So it was totally surprising. And the conditions there are the same as Portugal in Europe. So basically, his setup could be reproduced outside his country. That's the whole goal of this channel. If we can learn from each other how we grow Nepenthes anywhere on the planet, that would be really, really great. Just to spread the word and have new ideas and all that stuff. So clearly, that I plan to continue as long as I have a volunteer to show me their setup. So if you are interested to show me your setup, please contact me and I will be more than happy to set an interview. So until next time, happy growing!